The battle had been raging for 6 hours above the colony world of Vareth Prime. Admiral Crixnall of the Voreth Dominion watched from his command throne as his fleet tore through the defending Galactic Council ships like a blade through soft flesh. His mandibles clicked together in satisfaction. This would be his greatest victory. "Status report," he demanded, his voice echoing through the massive bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. His tactical officer turned from her console, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. "Supreme Admiral, the Council Defense Fleet is down to 37% strength. Their flagship, the Unity's Hope, has lost shields on 3 decks. Victory is assured within the hour." Crixnall rose from his throne, his armored body towering over his crew. The Vorath had conquered 17 star systems in the past cycle alone. They were the most feared military force in the known galaxy. No species had ever stood against them and survived. On the view screen, he watched another Council cruiser explode in a brilliant flash of blue and white. The defending fleet was a mix of species. There were the insectoid Kaleen, the aquatic Marathi in their water-filled ships, the 4-armed Bentari, and a dozen other races who had banded together to try to stop his advance. They had failed, as he knew they would. "Signal to all ships," Crixnall commanded. "Close the formation. I want this finished before the next rotation. Leave no survivors. Let this be a message to all who would stand against the Dominion." His communications officer obeyed instantly, sending the command across the fleet. 200 Vorath warships began to move in perfect coordination, tightening their net around the remaining Council vessels. Far below, on Vareth Prime, 12 million civilians waited in terror. They had seen the Vorath's work before. Entire populations enslaved or eliminated, cities reduced to ash. The Vorath did not negotiate. They did not show mercy. They simply took what they wanted. Admiral Sathara of the Kaleen stood on the bridge of Unity's Hope, her compound eyes tracking the tactical display with growing despair. Her ship shook again as another volley of Vorath weapons struck the failing shields. "We cannot hold," her first officer said, his antennae flat against his head in submission. "We should order evacuation of the civilian ships. Perhaps some can escape through the debris field." Sathara knew he was right. The battle was lost. She had known it was lost before it began, but the Council had ordered her to defend this world, to buy time for evacuations that would never be completed. She had brought her fleet here to die. "How many civilian transports have escaped?" she asked. 400,000 civilians successfully evacuated before the Vorath established their blockade. 11.6 million remain on the surface. 400,000 saved. 11 million condemned. The mathematics of war were always cruel. "Signal the fleet," Sathara said, forcing her voice to remain steady. "All ships capable of faster-than-light travel are ordered to retreat. Save who you can. Those of us who remain will cover the withdrawal." "Admiral, that will leave you with only 9 ships." "I am aware." She turned to face her bridge crew. "Those who wish to leave may do so. I will not order anyone to die with me." No one moved. She had not expected them to. They were Kaleen. They did not abandon their commander. She was about to give the order to attack when her sensor officer suddenly made a sound she had never heard before. A high-pitched whistle of pure confusion. "Admiral, I am detecting an anomaly." "What kind of anomaly?" "I do not know. It is unlike anything in our databases. There is a massive energy signature appearing directly between our fleet and the Vorath formation. It is enormous, larger than anything I have ever recorded." Sathara looked at the main view screen and saw nothing. Empty space, stars, the distant Vorath fleet. But her instruments were screaming. Then the stars disappeared. A shape was appearing in the void. It was uncloaking. revealing itself one section at a time. First, a bow that stretched for kilometers, covered in strange angular armor. Then, weapons arrays that her tactical computer could not even classify. Then more hull, and more and more. The ship was 7 kilometers long. It dwarfed even the Vorath flagship, which had always been the largest vessel any of them had ever seen. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, marked with symbols that glowed a soft amber color. The design was completely unfamiliar. Not Vorath, not Council, not any known species. "What is that?" her first officer whispered. Sathara had no answer. She had served in the Council fleet for 40 cycles. She had encountered hundreds of species. She had never seen anything like this. On the Vorath flagship, Admiral Crixnall was experiencing something he had not felt in many cycles. Uncertainty. His tactical displays were going insane with warnings and alerts. His crew was shouting reports that made no sense. "Where did it come from?" he demanded. "Unknown, Supreme Admiral. It was not there, and then it was. Cloaking technology beyond our capabilities. Scan it. Tell me what species we are dealing with." A long pause. Then his science officer spoke in a voice that trembled. "Supreme Admiral, the ship's configuration matches no known design, but the biological readings from inside the vessel are clear. They are human." Crixnall felt his blood turn cold. Humans. He knew that name. Everyone in the galaxy knew that name. They were a legend, a myth. A species that had retreated from galactic affairs 2 centuries ago after a brief and violent war with the Dominion's ancestors. They had been defeated. They had fled. They had been forgotten. "That is impossible," he said. "The humans are extinct. We destroyed them." "It appears, Supreme Admiral, that you were mistaken." A communication signal was coming from the human vessel. It was being broadcast on all frequencies, sent to every ship in both fleets, sent to the planet below, sent to every station and satellite in the system. A voice spoke. It was calm, almost gentle, and it spoke in perfect Vorath. "Attention, Vorath Dominion Fleet. This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth Alliance vessel Prometheus. You are engaged in an act of aggression against a civilian population under our protection. You have one opportunity to withdraw. There will not be a second warning." The bridge of the Eternal Conquest was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. They were all waiting for Crixnall to respond. To laugh at this threat. To give the order to destroy this single ship that dared to challenge 200 Vorath warships. Crixnall stared at the view screen, at the massive human vessel sitting motionless in space, at the soft amber glow of its weapons systems, and for the first time in his life, he was afraid. Admiral Sathara stared at the human ship, with her compound eyes wide in disbelief. She had heard stories about humanity. Everyone had. They were the species that had appeared from nowhere 300 years ago, established contact with the galactic community, and then vanished just as quickly. The official history said they had been destroyed in a conflict with the early Vorath Empire. The unofficial rumors said something very different. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "should we respond to the human transmission?" Before she could answer, Crixnall's voice boomed across all channels. He had accepted the human captain's communication request and was broadcasting his reply to everyone. "Human vessel, you are either very brave or very foolish. I am Admiral Crixnall of the Vorath Dominion. I command 200 warships. You are one vessel, no matter how large. Withdraw now or be destroyed along with these council fools." A soft laugh came back across the channel. Captain Vasquez's voice remained perfectly calm. "Admiral Crixnall, I know who you are. I know what your people have done to this galaxy. I know about the 17 systems you have conquered this cycle. I know about the populations you have enslaved. I know about the worlds you have burned. And I am telling you now that it ends here." You threaten me with one ship? No. I am informing you of reality. You see one ship because that is all we needed to send. If you require more convincing, I am happy to provide it. But I should warn you that the demonstration will be costly for your fleet. Crixnall's mandibles clicked together in what passed for laughter among the Vorath. You are insane. All ships. Target the human vessel. Fire at will. 80 Vorath warships turned their weapons on the Prometheus and opened fire simultaneously. Thousands of plasma bolts and particle beams crossed the void, enough destructive power to crack a small moon. The human ship's shields absorbed everything. Admiral Cythera's tactical officer made a choking sound. Admiral, the human vessel's shields did not even fluctuate. Energy absorption at 100%. That is not possible. No shield technology can do that. On the Vorath flagship, Crixnall was receiving the same impossible data. His tactical displays showed that every shot had hit the target, and every shot had been completely neutralized. Impossible, he breathed. Continue firing. All ships concentrate on that vessel. 200 Vorath warships focused their complete destructive power on a single target. The space around the Prometheus lit up like a star being born. For 30 seconds, an unimaginable amount of energy was poured into the human ship. The Prometheus sat perfectly still. Its shields glowed brighter, feeding on the energy being given to them. Not a single system was stressed. Then Captain Vasquez spoke again. That was your chance, Admiral. Now let me show you what 2 centuries of preparation looks like. The Prometheus moved. It should not have been possible for a ship that size to accelerate so quickly. It crossed the distance to the nearest Vorath battle group in 3 seconds, a blur of dark metal and amber light. A single weapon fired, a beam of energy that Cythera's sensors could not even properly classify. It struck the lead Vorath cruiser and passed through it like it was not there, continuing on to hit the 2 ships behind it. All 3 vessels exploded simultaneously, their reactors detonating in cascading failures. The human ship was already moving again, weaving through the Vorath formation at impossible speeds. More beams fired, each shot destroyed multiple ships, each movement was perfect, calculated, precise. It was not a battle, it was a demonstration. In 45 seconds, the Prometheus destroyed 38 Vorath warships without taking a single hit in return. Then it stopped, holding position directly in front of the Eternal Conquest, close enough that Crixnall could see the individual hull plates through his view screen. Admiral Crixnall, Captain Vasquez said, I have just killed approximately 9,000 of your crew members. I did not want to. Their deaths are on your conscience, not mine. You have one more chance to order your fleet to withdraw. If you refuse, I will destroy every remaining ship. If you attack the Council fleet or the planet below after I leave, I will return with more ships and I will reduce your empire to dust. This is not a threat. It is a promise. Humanity does not make threats. We make statements of intent. Do you understand? The bridge of the Eternal Conquest was in chaos. Crew members were screaming damage reports even though their ship had not been hit. They were watching their tactical displays show impossible data. 38 ships gone in less than a minute. The most powerful fleet the Dominion had ever assembled was being swatted aside like insects. Crixnall's first officer approached him carefully. Supreme Admiral, we must retreat. This enemy is beyond us. We do not retreat, Crixnall snarled. We are Vorath. We have never retreated. Then we will die. All of us. Crixnall looked at his view screen, at the human ship sitting there, waiting, at the amber glow of weapons that could tear through his entire fleet like they were made of paper. He thought about his legacy, about the empire he had served his entire life, about the glory of the Vorath, and he thought about the fact that none of it would matter if he was dead. All ships, he said, the words tasting like poison in his mouth, withdraw to the border. We are leaving this system. A moment of shocked silence. Then his crew began to obey, and across the fleet, 200 ships began to turn away from Vareth Prime. On Unity's hope, Admiral Sathara watched the impossible happen. The Vorath were retreating. The Vorath never retreated. In 200 years of galactic warfare, no one had ever seen them turn away from a fight. "Open a channel to the human vessel," she ordered. Captain Vasquez's face appeared on her screen. She was human, which meant she looked disturbingly similar to a Colleen without the compound eyes or antennae. Soft skin, bilateral symmetry, 2 arms, 2 legs. But there was something in her expression that Sathara recognized, the look of a warrior who did not enjoy violence but was very good at it. "Captain Vasquez, I am Admiral Sathara of the Colleen Collective, commanding the Galactic Council Defense Fleet. I do not know how to thank you. You have saved 12 million lives today." Vasquez nodded. "Admiral, I apologize that we did not arrive sooner. We have been watching your people suffer under the Vorath for a long time. We should have acted earlier. Where have you been? The galaxy believed humanity was destroyed centuries ago." A pause. Then a slight smile that did not reach the captain's eyes. "We have been preparing, watching, waiting for the right moment. We made mistakes when we first joined the galactic community. We were too trusting, too eager. We learned from those mistakes. And now? Now we are back. And we intend to have a conversation with the Vorath Dominion about their behavior. A firm conversation." Sathara felt something she had not felt in many cycles. Hope. Real hope. Not the desperate kind that kept you fighting when you knew you would lose. The kind that made you believe things might actually get better. "Captain, would you be willing to speak with the Galactic Council? I believe they would very much like to meet you." "I would be honored, Admiral. But first, please see to your wounded and your damaged ships. We will remain in this system until we are certain the Vorath will not return. Your people are safe now." Sathara ended the communication and turned to her crew. They were all staring at her, waiting for her to make sense of what had just happened. "Begin rescue operations," she ordered, "and someone send a message to the Council. Tell them that humanity has returned. Tell them everything has changed." 3 days later, the Galactic Council chamber was filled to capacity for the first time in decades. Representatives from over 200 species had traveled to the station to witness this moment, to see for themselves that the rumors were true, that humanity had returned. Captain Elena Vasquez walked into the chamber wearing her formal uniform, dark blue with silver trim and the emblem of Earth on her shoulder. She walked alone. She had been offered an escort, but she had declined. She was not afraid of these people. She had come to help them. The council president, a Marathi named Quarren, greeted her from his water-filled tank at the center of the chamber. His voice came through a translator device that rendered his underwater sounds into words the air breathers could understand. "Captain Vasquez, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome humanity back to the galactic community. We have many questions. The first and most obvious is, where have you been?" Vasquez stepped up to the speaking platform and looked around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces watching her. Some were curious, some were hopeful, some were afraid. She understood all of those reactions. "President Quarren, members of the Council, I will answer your questions honestly. 216 years ago, humanity fought a war with the early Vorath Empire. We lost that war. Our colonies were destroyed. Our fleet was broken. We were forced to retreat to our home system of Sol. The Vorath believed they had eliminated us. They were wrong." She paused, letting that sink in. "We spent the next 2 centuries rebuilding, not just our military, but our entire civilization. We developed new technologies. We studied every species in the galaxy. We watched you. We learned from your mistakes and our own. We prepared for the day when we would return." A Bantari representative stood, his 4 arms spread in a gesture of confusion. "Why did you not ask for help? Why did you not join the council? We could have protected you. With respect, Representative, you could not have protected us. The Vorath were too strong, and the council was too divided. If we had revealed ourselves, we would have been destroyed. We needed time to become strong enough that no one could threaten us again. And we needed to wait for the right moment to reveal ourselves. What made this the right moment? President Quarren asked. Because you finally needed us enough to accept what we have become, and because the Vorath had grown powerful enough to threaten the entire galaxy, not just a few border worlds. The time for watching was over. It was time to act. A Kaleen representative, one of Admiral Sithara's people, rose from her seat. Captain, we are grateful for your intervention at Verath Prime. But one ship, even a ship as powerful as yours, cannot stop the entire Vorath Dominion. They have thousands of vessels. They control dozens of systems. What exactly are you offering us? Vasquez allowed herself a small smile. I am glad you asked that question. The Prometheus is not our only ship. We have a fleet, a significant fleet. And we are prepared to use it in defense of any world threatened by Vorath aggression. But we are not here to fight your wars for you. We are here to fight with you. Together we can end the Vorath threat permanently. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouting questions, arguing with each other, expressing disbelief and hope and fear. President Quarren called for order several times before the room finally quieted. Captain Vasquez, what you are proposing is an alliance, a military alliance between humanity and the Galactic Council. Yes. And what would humanity want in return? This was the question she had been waiting for, the question that would determine whether this mission succeeded or failed. We want 3 things, she said. First, we want the Council to formally recognize human territorial claims to the Sol System and the 12 colony worlds we have established beyond it. Second, we want a seat on this Council with full voting rights. And third, we want access to your scientific and cultural archives. We have been alone for 200 years. We want to learn about the galaxy we are rejoining. More murmuring from the representatives. Some suspicious, some calculating. But none of them were saying no. President Quarren swam in a slow circle in his tank, a Morathi gesture of deep thought. These are reasonable requests, but I must ask you something, Captain. 2 centuries ago, humanity came to us in friendship and was betrayed by the Vorath. How do we know you do not harbor resentment toward the rest of us? How do we know this is not some elaborate plan for revenge? Vasquez had expected this question too. She had thought about how to answer it for a long time. President Quarren, when we were defeated, we had a choice to make. We could have let our anger and pain turn us into something dark. We could have spent 2 centuries plotting vengeance against everyone who failed to help us. We could have become like the Vorath. She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. We chose differently. We chose to remember why we came to the stars in the first place, to explore, to learn, to meet new people and share in the wonder of a universe so much bigger than ourselves. We chose to remember that we are not defined by what was done to us, but by what we do in response. The Vorath tried to destroy us, so we became stronger. They tried to make us afraid, so we became brave. They tried to make us cruel, so we became kind. That is what humanity is, President Quarren. That is what 200 years of preparation looks like. Not just bigger ships and better weapons, better people. The chamber was silent. She could feel the weight of her words settling over the representatives. She could see them looking at her with new eyes, seeing not just a soldier or a captain or a representative of a powerful military force, seeing a person, a human being. President Quarren spoke softly. Captain Vasquez, I believe I speak for the entire council when I say that we are honored by your offer of alliance. And we are ashamed that we did not do more to help your people when you needed us. I move that we accept humanity's terms and welcome them back into the galactic community as full partners. How does the council vote? One by one, the representatives voted. Colleen, Marathi, Bentari, and dozens of others. Every single vote was in favor. When the count was complete, President Quarren made the formal announcement. Let it be recorded that on this day humanity has returned to the stars. May this alliance bring peace and prosperity to all our peoples. The chamber erupted in applause and cheering. Vasquez stood at the speaking platform and allowed herself to feel a moment of genuine happiness. They had done it. After 2 centuries of waiting, humanity was finally home. Later that evening, she stood on the observation deck of her ship and looked out at the stars. Admiral Cythera found her there. Captain, I wanted to thank you again, not just for Vareth Prime, but for what you said in the council chamber, about choosing kindness over cruelty. I think many of us needed to hear that. Vasquez nodded, but did not look away from the stars. Admiral, can I tell you something honestly? Of course. We almost did become like the Vorath. In those first decades after our defeat, there were many among us who wanted revenge, who wanted to build a fleet and burn the galaxy to ash, who wanted to make everyone pay for what was done to us. It took a long time to convince them that there was a better way, that the galaxy needed us to be better than our worst impulses. Cythera moved to stand beside her. What convinced them? The children. Each new generation grew up knowing the stories of what happened to us, but they did not carry the same anger. They saw the galaxy as a place of wonder, not a place of pain. They reminded us of who we used to be, and they showed us who we could become. Cythera was quiet for a moment. Captain, the Vorath will not accept this. They will see your alliance with the Council as a threat. They will come for you. I know. Are you ready for that war? Vasquez finally turned to look at the Colleen Admiral. Her expression was calm, confident, and just a little bit sad. Admiral, we have been ready for 200 years. We did not want this war. We tried to avoid it by staying hidden. But sometimes hiding is not enough. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to stand up and fight for it. The Vorath have been preying on this galaxy for too long. They have enslaved and murdered millions. They thought they could do anything they wanted because no one was strong enough to stop them. She turned back to the stars. They were wrong. Humanity is awake now, and we are not going to sleep again. Whatever comes next, we will face it together, and we will win. Not because we are the strongest or the most ruthless, but because we fight for something worth fighting for, because we remember that the universe is full of wonder and beauty and life, and all of it is worth protecting. She smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. Welcome to the new age, Admiral. Humanity is back, and we have a lot of work to do.